And welcome back to another edition of Edmonton Oilers game previews here on Dolynny TV today, guys, discussing, well, a game that really doesn't mean much now, does it? The next four don't mean anything really at all, but you still have to talk about them because there's still going to be storylines and everything. Obviously, the Leon Draisaitl chase for 50 goals is the biggest one, but we've already discussed that one time over. Now, the other things too is, of course, lineup combinations Ken Hitchcock is going with for tonight's game. They're kind of interesting because you see a couple guys that we really haven't seen a lot of in the past few games. And then, of course, you see, well, what happens with Koskinen. He's starting tonight, and you have to get breaking down into it. So let's, without further ado, for this 8 p.m. matchup against the Vegas Golden Knights this evening from Vegas, from the, whatever they call their stadium there, not T-Mobile Arena, but, the Knights Palace or the Night, whatever they call it. It's the Vegas Golden Knights. It's something weird. Let's see. Let's go get the other line rushes at Vegas. Well, it was Draisaitl, McDavid, Kassian on the top line. Again, they were a little shut off the scoreboard last game. Oh, well, you know what? You got to go out there and get yourself into the game. Vegas starting Malcolm Subban tonight, so let's not get too excited that the Oilers are going to do that great, but let's not get too depressed and depleted that the Oilers are going to do terrible. You can still easily, with this Oilers team, put up 4 goals against Malcolm Subban tonight. It's not an impossibility, but again, once, and I mean, hopefully for all, I've said it this season where we're facing the backup and you know what to expect. A low-scoring, terrible effort, muffins on net. That's the way the Oilers seem to play every backup in the NHL. They seem to take them for granted, think that every shot's going to go in and just throw muffins on net. That doesn't work. We know that, and tonight the Oilers have to go in there with the mentality that you're shooting to score 100% efficiency every puck. And whether it be tips in front, whether it be shots from the point, whether it be scrambles in front, hack, whack, and get it in. Because Leon Draisaitl, A, needs 50 goals, and B, there's a lot of pride on the line just finishing the season with our heads held high because we've beat ourselves. The NHL fan base beat us, and other teams have simply beat us to a point of almost no return this season. Well, obviously playoffs, no return, but to the point that some people sit here and just think, how can it possibly get better? And that's not a thing we should be asking ourselves before the offseason even begins, before new GM's even named. So let's just finish with pride. Let's go out there and do the job. That's all I'm asking. That's all I'm looking for. That's literally all I'm looking for. Go out there with some pride and get the job done. Now, Gambardella, RNH, Chiasson, well, they've been an effective line. They've gotten the job done a few times already this season, so keep going. Gambardella's only going to get better as his NHL game grows, so see what happens. Lucic, Cave, Gagne. We've seen Lucic and Cave have a little bit of magic before, and I mean, I wish Curry was on that line, but obviously, yeah, you do have to give Gagne the time, considering A, how much he's making on his contract, and B, the fact that he's been a little bit more efficient points-wise than Josh Curry has been since his call-up. And that fourth line, as I mentioned, does hold the man Josh Curry himself. It's Brad Malone centering it and Ty Ratty on the left wing. So, well, you know what? You're not going to see the Bakersfield kids by the looks of those kind of lines. But what you are going to see is the depth guys get in there and fight for a spot in the organization next year. The reason I say the organization and not the lineup is I honestly think Ty Ratty's time with the Oilers is over. I think Brad Malone's time with the Oilers is over. I think Josh Curry is a guy that interests the Oilers for sure, but do you have a roster spot for him if you make the right moves? I don't think you do. However, you have to go out there and realize that, you know what, you look at it this way, you've got 4, 5, 6 spots in the forward group of the 13, 14, however you want to look at it, open this year, going into the offseason. So you can't kid yourself that everybody has to play well and make the new GM think. That's all we're asking, right? Make the new GM think about his job a little bit on day one. Figure out, hey, you know what? This guy has what I want this team to be about, or that kind of thing. That's all you have to do. You have to make him evaluate you on day one. You can't sit there and be cast aside before the new GM's hired, right? Because obviously, as a new GM gets hired, there's going to be the interviews, and an interview is going to consist of what would you do with this guy? What's your plan if we want to do this with this guy? And he's already going to be making moves before he's even hired per se. So you don't want to be one of those guys that's being made a move of before the new GM is hired, right? If you're the guy getting discussed in the meetings of what are you going to do with this guy? We really like this guy. You don't want to be that guy. And for Cave, Curry, Malone, Ratty, Gambardella, Chiasson, and even maybe Kazian, you need to sit there and realize you can't be that guy. I mean, there's a couple guys that I said in there that I think are 100% safe, but you can't sit here and say this Oilers roster is going to do any better next year than they did this season. That's just throwing insanity at the wall, my friends. So for Mikko Koskinen, I guess that's the other attempt we have to go talk about. He gets another start. I think Jack Michaels says 23rd time in 24 games tonight at Vegas. Like I said, Vegas counters with Subban. That's tough. That's tough for Koskinen. He's getting a lot of work, and this glove hand, as I noted yesterday, looks worse by the day. So what I look for every single game out of Koskinen is if he has made a transition, if he's made a difference in his catching game, and somehow, some way, he doesn't seem to have had game by game. So tonight, maybe after another rough one, maybe he's made one change that could be better, could be worse. At this time of the year, experiment. Make of it what you will. It's your first NHL season back. You can blame it on nerves. You can blame it on not being familiar. You can blame it on anything. And most of us Oilers fans, you know what? We fall for the same thing every year. We're going to fall for it. So let's not kid ourselves that we're going to give Mikko Koskinen the benefit of the doubt going into next year. At least I am, and I think I'm on the same train half the time. So I think there's at least maybe a quarter of the fan base that would agree with me on that. So for Koskinen, you know what? Just go out there and just show any kind of change to your game. Doesn't have to be positive, doesn't have to be negative, just has to be something. Whether it be you're getting more glove on the puck, whether you actually snag 3 out of 3 pucks, I don't know. Just make some kind of difference in your game, and that's all we're asking at this point of the season. The defense, I didn't touch on that because it's always the same defense now that Ken Hitchcock finally got his guys in. So it's good to see that we're rolling the same lines over and over back there, but it's just not generating anything realistically, right? The D scoring has been an issue for the Oilers, and they need to figure that out going into the offseason. But how do you do that with an Andre Sekera, an Adam Larsson, an Oscar Klefbom, a Darnell Nurse, who I honestly think you're getting the most out of that you can. So where do you find room to bring in another guy? Honestly, Chris Russell has a little bit more upside to his game, but he doesn't get the power play time. So you can't kid yourself, right? So it's going to be an interesting one. Again, the Vegas Golden Knights, a tough opponent. They're clinched. They are playing the San Jose Sharks in round number 1. They are that 2-3 matchup against the Sharks. It's going to be a tough test. And I mean, let's go realistically. Look at the NHL standings quickly here, because the Vegas Golden Knights, like I can sit here and tell you they're a tough team, but the thing is they're an even tougher team than we sometimes realize. Vegas Golden Knights, 42, 37, and, well, 32, I already said it. 91 points on the year and 243 goals. So that's best, or third best in the Western, not the Western Conference, pardon me. Fourth best in the Western Conference. So again, a top scoring team, top tier kind of deal, and very, very scary to see what they can do tonight. They have the offensive firepower. They've allowed 220 goals this year. Well, here's the thing. The Oilers have only scored 224 goals this year while giving up 261. You want to talk about who is really hurting here? Well, Cam Talbot, right? We've been over all this all season long, but it's not a problem of goal scoring, because you look at the Coyotes, you look at the Canucks, who have respectively more points than us, and they've scored 7, 18 less goals than us. You look at the Avalanche, the Blues, the Stars, who have way more points than us and have scored just barely or way under our goal totals. So tonight, like I said, every single night, just go out there, score some goals, do some damage, and have some fun playing hockey. Guys, I'm Tyson. This is Dolynny TV. This has been your Dolynny TV Edmonton Oilers versus Vegas Golden Knights game preview. As always, I am up on out of here.